I have struggled my entire life to see at night. I was pretty nervous when the idea started. I was told, that's a boy's job. I found the experience of installing the tower and lights to be really empowering. I could do anything I wanted to do. And I feel really grateful that that is the message from my childhood that I remember. My top 3 values are personal growth, making an impact in the community, and having fun. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how installing the Nomad Adv tower helped me to reflect on all 3 of those and what the experience of installing the tower and lights was like for me. In general, I found the experience of installing the tower and lights to be really empowering. For an experienced mechanic, it probably would have been pretty simple, but for somebody of my experience level, it took a lot of thought. For me to do this project with minimal help was empowering, but I have to admit, I was pretty nervous when the idea started. Typically in the garage, I'm the person who fetches the tools, puts on the Loctite, holds the flashlight, that type of thing. And I do a little bit of I can do the oil changes and the air filters, but for bigger projects, I really lean on Nathan. And so when he's like, I think you could install this by yourself, I got pretty nervous, but I also got really excited because I've been wanting to dive more into projects, but we're always limited by time. So I think setting aside the time to do this project and to know it was going to take a little bit longer because I was the one installing it and we were videotaping it was it felt really validating that, first of all, Nathan believed in my competence and that I could actually put this together. And it was really reassuring that Nathan was still there in the garage, and when things got tough, I could ask for feedback or advice and not worry that I was going to hurt my bike. After the Rally Tower install, we went out for a ride the next weekend and looked down and realized that the brake line and the blinker wire were rubbing against each other. Long term, that's not a great plan. And the coolest thing happened because looking at it, I knew exactly what I needed to do to fix the problem. And that is not something that would have been true a week earlier. I knew how all of it had been put together. I knew exactly what needed to be taken apart. And then I could just put it back together again in a way where they didn't rub against each other. So that was a really validating moment for me. When I was a little girl, my dad, in order to keep me busy, would give me a whole grocery bag full of wires, just tangled wires, and he would give me a wire stripper, and I would sit for hours and just strip wire. That practice of just pulling the rubber outside off but not cutting the wire, for some reason was a ton of fun for me. And then, even as a middle schooler, I got into science fair projects, and I did a lot of electronics then, where I was soldering wires and sending sound through lights, and I made little model windsurfers to see which shape of sail was the fastest, but I had to wire up a hairdryer to be the wind. So I may have considered myself kind of mechanical as a child, but it's funny, as an adult, I was talking recently to my parents, and somewhere along the way, I guess I had said I may have wanted to be a mechanic and was told, that's a boy's job. I have zero recollection of that. I had fabulous parents who always told me that I could do anything I wanted to do. And I feel really grateful that that is the message from my childhood that I remember. So even as an adult, I've definitely moved towards people-oriented fields. And I have not nurtured the side of myself that enjoys mechanics until about 10 years ago when meeting Nathan and we got into motorcycles. And I remember we had a garage day and he got busy helping somebody else and told me to take the plastics off my bike. And I did. I took all the plastics off my bike. I probably stripped a couple of screws, and then I had a pile of parts that I had no idea what to do with. And he was like, well, most of the time people label the screws or put them in baggies or put them back in the bike where they belong. And I was like, didn't even think of that. So it has been a journey from then until now. But it has really been a supportive journey. It's been great having Nathan as a really master mechanic to help me fix my mistakes, to fix the screws that I stripped, and to also give me help and coaching along the way, but also to give me space. I remember when I wanted to adjust the valves on my DR650 and he was upstairs and I just sat down and tried and then had him check and tried and had him check until I figured out exactly what it was supposed to feel like. So step by step, we've gotten to the point where I could actually assemble this tower, which is a pretty complex project, and follow the instructions, but also know with complete confidence that if I got stuck, I could lean on Nathan in a really judgment-free and positive zone, and I really appreciate that. What I like most about Cyclops is they have a really solid product. I know I've only ridden with them once at night, but I love their headlights. And I cannot speak highly enough about their customer service. We actually wired the bike together, and there's supposed to be an option where you can have the high beam and the low beam on at the very same time. But when we wired up our bike, the low beam and the high beam were coming on only independently. So we reached right out to the owner, who responded with a number of options. He said, that wiring harness must not be wired correctly, so we can send you one out right away, or it's a pretty easy fix if you want to just quickly rewire it yourself. We chose option number 2. And I just really, really appreciate working with small companies with really good customer service who are gonna stand by their product and tell you how to either fix something or send you out a new product if it doesn't work the way you expect it to work. Great lighting is really important to me because vision and being able to see is both important to me and has been a lifelong struggle. I remember being a kid and in the younger grades, looking up at the chalkboard and kind of wondering why people thought it was important to write messages on the chalkboard, because for me, everything was pretty much a fuzzy blur. And it wasn't until I got into the 4th grade and I got my eyes checked and found out I needed glasses that I realized, oh, everything on the chalkboard, everybody else can read. But I'll admit to a tiny little vanity when I was growing up. When I was a kid, glasses were kind of geeky, and I did not want to wear them. So I still did not see really well through most of my elementary school, junior high, and high school years. It wasn't really until I started driving and I got contacts that vision actually became much clearer for me, and I could see people's faces, and I could see where I was going, and I could see street signs. But genetic night blindness is not fixed by contacts, and I have struggled my entire life to see at night. Having good lighting, therefore, is super important to me. The experience of riding at night is pretty scary because I can't make interpretations. I feel like my visual processing speed goes down the darker it gets, and then when the really bright lights are shining in my eyes, my eyes don't correct very quickly, so I really struggle to see the road. This, unfortunately, has gotten worse as I've aged. It's funny because in all other ways, I feel like aging is this beautiful gift. I know our society has some negative stereotypes about it, but every single year I tend to feel stronger and like I've learned something new and I've tried new things. The only area of my life where I felt like aging is kind of trying to be a pain in my butt is in the night blindness area. It gets harder and harder every year to get to see at night. So adding motorcycle lights that are super bright and have a really wide beam is so important for me to continue riding at night. I even sometimes try to limit the riding that I do at night, but sometimes we can't help it. There's an event I want to ride to at night, or you get lost during the day or have a mechanical, and then you're off-road in the middle of nowhere, and the only option is riding at night. So I'm really grateful for the Cyclops lights to help give me a lot greater visibility while I'm riding at night. Making the Rally Tower video, I learned a few things about myself. One is that I really can do anything I set my mind to, with some gentle persuasion and help. No, it didn't come out right.
Perfect.
I have always tried to stay away from the idea that there are people who are artists or mechanics or good at any one specific thing, because I genuinely believe that we can all be good at anything that we set our mind to and that we work on. So it felt so good to actually see that come to life, that if I really set my mind to something and I slow down and I read the instructions, that I can genuinely do anything I set my mind to. I also really realized the impact of the videos that we make. One of the comments really touched me. somebody said they were watching this video with their 8-year-old child who really enjoyed me getting treats and maybe even enjoyed me having some tears along the way. And that is a genuine part of the experience for me. I'm a pretty emotional person. And when I get frustrated, my go-to isn't necessarily anger. It can be tears. So it was really helpful to have chocolates doled out to keep me motivated along the way. But what I really loved about that comment was that there's an 8-year-old girl out there who's watching this video and knowing that no matter what anybody tells her, girls can be mechanics and girls can ride motorcycles and girls can do anything that they set their mind to, because it doesn't really matter if you're a girl or a boy. It's what your interests are and what you think you can do. I also really, really loved how positive all the comments were on the video. In my mind, this rally tower install is a pretty basic project for an experienced mechanic. And so it was really, really amazing and supportive to have all the people who watch our videos give me such positive compliments on something that might be basic for somebody else, but was a pretty big undertaking for me. So thank you all for doing that. I really genuinely appreciated it. I feel like I really want to encourage everybody to go out and just try something on their bike. Even if you're more comfortable taking it to a shop for most things, I think it's a really fun and empowering experience just to give it a try. I know that that's partly my own personal values that I want to keep growing and learning, but I also think you might enjoy it too. With that in mind, I want to share that I never really thought I'd be a YouTuber or really any type of influencer on social media. I really appreciate you all for watching and being a part of our warm and authentic community here. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to Cyclops ADV. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and tell me in the comments below what's something that you've learned about yourself in the last year. I'll see you on the next ride. Yay! Woohoo!
Good job.
That was awesome. You too, good job.
Yeah. You're awesome.
You're awesome.